Hello and welcome to API CAN Code's first unit on data in learners' lives. In this first lesson, Introduction to Data, students will learn about various data types and categorize types of data in their own lives. We start the lesson by asking students what they think of when they hear the word data. So allow students to share their initial thoughts and ideas, and then write their responses on the board, create a mind map, or do some other way of connecting these ideas together. It's important to emphasize that in today's world, data is everywhere and plays a crucial role in decision-making, research, and everyday life. Building off of students' brainstorming, we also want to present them with a clear definition of data. So you can present the one that we have here. Data is a collection of facts and statistics presented in various formats, such as numbers, text, images, etc., that are used for reference, analysis, reasoning, or calculations. One thing that you can discuss here and on the following slides is how data can be found in different forms, including both numbers and text, but also images and map data and other sources. We have some examples here to illustrate the concept of data. The two we have here are the total number of students in different classes and the temperatures recorded for each day of the week. We want students to come up with their own examples for data and record them in their worksheets. As a side note, anytime you see this Google Forms icon, we have a note here for the students and you as well as a reminder, but that symbol means that there is some kind of prompt on today's worksheet, in this case the question that you see on the slide. The next few slides will focus on categorizing data largely around this qualitative-quantitative split. So on this slide, we further break down quantitative data, so numerical data, versus qualitative data, so non-numerical data. It's important here to explain that quantitative data is usually used to answer questions like how much or how many. Examples might include the heights of students in the class or the scores on a football game. Qualitative data, on the other hand, is often used for questions like why and how. Examples might include hair color or favorite movie genres or types of pets. We followed this up with a brief student discussion about the differences between the two types of data and when each one might be used. Here we further break down qualitative data into nominal variables, with our categories with no natural order, or ordinal variables, which are categories with a natural order. So for example, a nominal variable might be the color of your shirt. On the other hand, an ordinal variable might be gold, silver, and bronze metals, where there is actually a natural order there. And on this side, we do the same with the quantitative side. So we break this into discrete variables, numbers that can only take certain values. For example, someone's reported age. People will generally say they're 21 or 22, but not 21.625. Whereas a continuous variable can take any value in a certain range. So your height and your weight are generally thought of as more continuous variables. So we're going to have students practice this with this Kaggle Data Science Job Salaries dataset. There's a couple different kinds of variables in the dataset, and on today's worksheet we have spaces for them to determine the data type of each variable listed. We want to review the answers as a class, reviewing any misconceptions or questions. Sometimes students mix up, especially the numeric variables, but also sometimes the whether a variable has order or not on the qualitative side can also give them some trouble. In the next section, we want to discuss the significance of data in the modern world and emphasize that data is used for a lot of different informed decisions in various fields. We've got two examples on this slide: weather forecasting and using customer data to improve products and services by companies. And in the next few slides, we're going to explore some different data visualizations that might help students understand what we mean by sort of data being present constantly in the world and helping us make decisions. So for each of the following slides, we're going to ask students to look at the example, explore the page a little bit, and discuss what kinds of data they see represented there. This first infographic is about vitamin D. They have some time data, they have some map data, and they use some colors sort of creatively throughout. Students have space on the worksheet to answer the question, what do you notice and what do you wonder? And they might come up with lots of different things because there is a lot on this infographic. It's also linked directly from the slide, so if you want to send students there themselves, we highly recommend sort of actually opening it up and looking through it. individually. This next infographic is a wind map of the United States. It is dynamic. You can't see it in this slide, but if you open the page, you'll notice that the wind actually does move through the map, which kind of helps see what's going on in the data. It's also real time, which is different from that vitamin D page. So this might give sort of different opportunities for students to notice and wonder different things about this data set. Our last example in the infographics section is on plastic bottle waste. This page is part dynamic, part static graphs. So the opening graphic that you actually see a screenshot of here continues to update as the page is being opened, so students might take note of that. And then some of the later graphics are static and show, for example, the size of plastic bottle waste compared to various buildings. Then there's also a final graphic that shows sort of the different percentages of waste coming from and going to different things. And here's just a moment to have a closing discussion on those different, that infographic exploration section. We'd like to encourage students to think of how data can be valuable, what problems it might be able to solve, and what improvements it might be able to make based on sort of what they saw in the last couple infographics. So next, we're going to have students do some brainstorming about different data that they might consume or create throughout their everyday life. If students struggle, you might be able to give some examples of everyday situations where data tends to be used, such as social media or healthcare data or image downloaded and sent through their phones through various apps or emails. We want students to record one of these ideas in today's worksheet, categorized and described as best they can. Once students have come up with some data that they create or consume, we want them to share that with the class. This is also a nice opportunity for them to think about some other ideas that classmates came up with and see if that sort of makes sense to them as well and might be relevant to their lives as well. Our closing discussion recaps some of the topics that we talked about today, including how data affects daily lives. The 4 different types we talked about of data today are discrete, continuous, nominal, and ordinal. And also questions about why it's important to understand the types of data and what we're working with, and getting students started on this idea of thinking about situations where misinterpreting data might lead to problems. We didn't really address that formally in this lesson, but we will in the ones preceding, so we want to sort of plant that seed in their heads here. So this has been Unit 1, Lesson 1, and on behalf of the API Can Code team at UMD, I want to say thank you for watching this video and teaching this course.